I would like to call on my fellow director, Mr. Arjun Shroff, to give the invocation. After that, we will be having the anthem, so please remain standing.
Good evening, may we all rise. Let us place ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Dear God, we thank you for all the blessings of good health, good business, our good life. Thank you for nourishing our bodies this evening. Special thanks for today, for gathering us together with our old and new friends. May we ask for your blessings and divine providence that the activities set for this day be successful and effective to our lives. May we also gain and retain the invaluable knowledge and learning experiences that we will derive from this interactive forum today. We pray that you bless all the presenters so that they fulfill their tasks responsibly and the objectives that they have set for us may be achieved. Lord, your generous blessings would mean the success of this forum. We know that with your grace we will progress. We are living witnesses of your love, Lord. Grant us your divine wisdom as we go about our daily tasks and our lives daily. Also, we pray for a safe trip home to our loved ones, to everyone after this forum. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Next, I would like to call our president, Mr. Rex Daryanani, to give us the welcome remarks as well as the president's report.
Good evening, everybody. Before I proceed with the task that has been given to me, if I may please be allowed to call our corporate secretary to please verify quorum. Ravi, could you please do the honors?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to confirm that we do indeed have a quorum. Enjoy the evening.
Thank you, sir. It's a great honor that I call this meeting to order. Our beloved past presidents, our dear members of the FICCI, my colleagues on the board, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is with great pleasure that I welcome each and every one of you to this evening's general membership meeting. We are delighted and honored that for the very first time, our distinguished speakers and presenters are our very own members. And this is indeed a first. And I am delighted to see you all here today, and thank you for making this happen. My deep gratitude to Messrs. Jarden and Lloyd Thompsons, Messrs. Howlett, Messrs. Marsh Philippines, Messrs. New India, and Messrs. Standard Insurance for agreeing to our request to further enhance our non-life insurance understanding, which will pave the way for us to be better prepared against the many risks that we all face. I would also like to welcome our guests and friends from SGP who have joined us this evening. We are currently exploring ways on how our chamber can partner with them moving forward. We look forward to welcoming them as members of the chamber as well soon. The President's report covering the period from November 15, 2016 up to today has already been sent to you by email and by WhatsApp. Copies of the said report are also on your tables. We are also very happy to submit to you today our audited financial statements way ahead of our deadline to submit to the BIR. Our fiscal year ends in Feb. So our audited financials are actually ready and has been presented to you on your tables. Should any of you have questions with regards to these reports, please feel free to see me and our treasurer, Mr. Haresh, after the meeting or any time after that. I will not read the report anymore since it's been sent to you in advance. We would also like to officially welcome to our chamber our amazing executive director in the person of Miss Ella Gan. Ella, where are you? Where is Ella? Ella, welcome my dear. Since Ella joined us on April 1, she has been hard at work, not only in understanding how we operate, but more so, coming up with recommendations and implementing how to improve our operations moving forward. All while helping us in the many activities and events we need to attend to. Ella is not an employee of this chamber. to us at least. As the Executive Director, she is our partner in further taking our chamber to much greater heights. She will be addressing you shortly and introducing herself. Please stand by for more amazing things to come. In closing, I would like to thank each and every member for the overwhelming support that you have extended to us. Your support is the reason that we have achieved many milestones in the last 1 year. Last but not the least, may I please request the members of the board to please stand. Thank you, gentlemen, for the amazing work that you do for our chamber. Friends, please join me in extending a round of applause to you. Since we have submitted the President's report, we have submitted the audited financial statements, may I please humbly request for a motion to approve the President's report, the financial statements, and to ratify all actions of the board from the floor. Yes, sir. Mr. Ramesh. Thank you, sir. Any seconds? Seconded. Thank you, sir. Enjoy the evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. Dhanyavad. Salamat po. Mabuhay. And namaste.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And before we get on with the program, I'd like to now take the opportunity to invite our Executive Director, Ms. Elegant, on stage to give a brief introduction. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Rex. Now I'm scared. Good evening. It is an honor to be a part of the Federation of Indian Chambers of Commerce, an influential business association which plays a significant role in the economic development of this country. The creation of the Office of the Executive Director was conceptualized to support and assist in the achievement of the FICCI objectives. 1. To develop a stronger sense of brotherhood. Our office shall provide assistance in the logistics and mobilization on events like these general assemblies, board meetings, gatherings, and celebrations that adds value to the members and the board. The FICCI is lucky that our own brothers heed the call of our board of directors to be the presenters and speakers for this GMM. To enhance the prestige of the Filipino-Indian business community. As Executive Director, it is my responsibility to ensure that goals and objectives set by the board are being implemented and complied with. The Board of Directors and I are actively participating in congressional hearings, EWGs, and public consultations regarding trade policies, contractualization, and immigration. Third, to promote cordial business relations locally and globally. The Office of the Executive Director, as required, and with the guidance of the board, shall arrange and coordinate networks and strategic partnerships and alliances that will positively benefit members and the Federation. The President's report mentioned activities and initiatives that the Federation has actively participated with international organizations or institutions. I was lucky to be exposed in an international gathering such as the ASEAN during my first month as Executive Director and learned to identify and establish the level of support we can provide to the members of the Federation. And lastly, the FICCI aims to respond fully to the needs of a progressive economy in the Filipino-Indian business community. Again, with the direction of the board, our office shall provide and support in all activities that will address the needs of the Federation. With the guidance and leadership from the board, we will continue to improve the delivery of our service, and we will continuously enhance our systems and processes to fit the changing needs of our members. I am Ella Pareño-Gan, your Executive Director at your service. Thank you and good evening.
And on to the main program for this evening. We have assembled an amazing panel of experts in the insurance field. I will try my best to keep my introductions as brief as possible so we have ample time left over at the end for the open forum. With the programs on your table, you will see that we've highlighted several areas of insurance that we would like to cover. Time permitting, we will address every single one of them. To begin, I would like to now call on the President and CEO of Standard Insurance, Mr. John Echaus, one of the Philippines' leading motor car and property insurance. He is also the founder and president of Insurance Support Services International, a BPO company serving US and Australian insurance companies. He has an MBA from Columbia University and a BS in Industrial Engineering from De La Salle University. He represented the Philippines at the World Economic Forum in Switzerland as a Young Global Leader 2015. He will be highlighting the economics of an insurance company and how it affects us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Marsh. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us. Rex, thank you for having us. It's a pleasure being here. It's a pleasure being with very respected and very polished gentlemen and ladies. Thank you. I won't take too much time. We want to be efficient with our time, but we'll start with a short story. There was a young man, and he was talking to a relatively mature, very successful businessman. And the young man asked his boss, why are you so conservative? Why are you so conservative? And the gentleman said, unlike you, I have something to conserve. And that is the reason why we are here to talk about insurance. Many people here in the room are businessmen. So I would like to present to you insurance from the point of view of a business person. It will be, I think, it may be easier and more interesting to absorb. How does this go forward? Very short history of insurance. Insurance is not a new concept. The upper left corner is a picture from ancient China, 3,000 years ago. Well, this one is not 3,000 years ago, but it was the only picture I could find about ancient China in boats. 3,000 years ago, the traders would go down the river, and the rivers were very treacherous. So what they would do is they would distribute their wares across a number of vessels, 10 vessels. So if one vessel goes down, you only lose 10% of your wares. That's 3,000 years ago. Fast forward 1,000 years, maybe 2000 BC, upper right side is in Mediterranean Sea. In the Code of Hammurabi, you could actually have a shipment of goods. Let's say you buy a boatload of goods. You would borrow money against it. You would borrow money to fund the goods, but you would pay a bit of extra to the money lender. So in event that the boat goes down, the debt is extinguished. That's insurance too. The third picture here is actually in Greece. This is a picture of the first beneficial society. People would all chip in and pay in case someone dies. You pay for the funeral expenses, you support the widow. That's about 600 BC. The first fire insurance showed up in the year 1600s. This is the Great Fire of London. 30,000 homes burned down overnight. So, because of that, some people said, let's take fire insurance seriously. So the first fire insurance company was established after the Great Fire of London. These insurance companies also began the first fire departments. And they would also have these metal plaques to put on your house. So in the event your house burns down, you can show your plaque and say, look, I was covered. The first fire insurance company was called the Fire Company of London or something like that. It still exists today inside Royal Sun Alliance. Number 6. Number 5, this picture here, also in the 1600s, at the time the UK was a center of trade all over the world. So you would have people with ships full of goods that they wanted to insure. And they would look for people willing to insure these goods. This is a picture of a coffee shop called Lloyd's. And that was where they all met. People who had stuff to insure and people willing to insure them. Today, this is the center of insurance in the UK, where many people go to procure reinsurance. And lastly, there is a highway code of the UK. In the 1920s, cars began to be very popular. At top speeds of 50 kilometers per hour, they would travel the roads and they would hit people. They would actually hit people and people could not get paid. People were not covered. So in 1930, the UK passed the highway code requiring compulsory car insurance for all drivers. So these actually put together make up the backbone of our modern insurance operation. Okay. Now let's pretend. Okay, let's pretend that we are all insurers. You are insurers. Okay, and you are in the business of insuring buildings. So up there, a picture of all these buildings. So you look at all the clients, every building is one client, and you say, I'm going to collect premiums from you, all of you. Okay, so you collect premiums. That's what they pay you to insure or cover their properties. The money you've collected, perhaps it's enough in case one person calls you and says, you know what, I have a leaky pipe and it's flooding my 17th floor. No problem, I'll take care of it. And you can pay for the damage because your job as an insurance company is to restore the person's condition before the accident. Note, it must be an accident or something unforeseen. That's fine, a leaky pipe. What happens if one entire floor goes up in flames? Can you cover that? Most likely yes. What happens though if you have one entire building burned down? That building up there is, who's familiar with that building? This was in the UAE last year. Brand new skyscraper. How many floors were burned down? 6 floors. The building's total loss. Can you cover that? Worst case, what happens if the entire area is hit by a tsunami or an earthquake? Can you cover that? So these are the things that make us insurers keep us awake at night. We want to make sure that whatever happens, our customers are fine. One more scenario. Let's say you're in a business of insuring cars. So all these guys here, you cover them. Different kinds of cars, small, big, different uses, and the drivers are also different. Everyone thinks they're a good driver, but so many of them just get into accidents all the time. So you can pay for maybe one claim. There's one claim, small damage, no problem. What happens if it's several cars with major collisions? Can you pay for that? Most likely okay too. But what happens if you have a Thailander where you have so many cars underwater? Can you pay for that? So this is the business of an insurance company. As an insurer, you have, let's say, 100,000 customers, each customer holding an insurance policy that you issued. These are called your policies in force. And every insurance policy must specify 6 basic things. The first thing is, who is the party A, the insurer, and party B, the insured? Exactly who are we or who are you insuring? B, what property are you insuring? Oh, it's this building, it's this car, it's this warehouse, it's this factory. C, what are the risks that you insure against? If it's a car, own damage, the driver hits something, third party hits someone, theft, the car is carnap, acts of nature, the car is flooded. D, interests of the assured in the property insured. Insurable interest. The person you are issuing a policy to, does he or she actually own the asset? E, the amount to be insured. If it's a building, how much are we insuring it for? It's worth $1 billion, but are we insuring it for $1 billion? And my second to the last slide, if you were an insurance company, you collect premiums, but those premiums go into 6 buckets. 6 buckets you need to make sure that your business is working for you and all stakeholders, especially customers. The first bucket, what must we pay for? First, we have to find our customers and take care of them and make sure that they get the service they need and the right cover they need. So normally, you would go and look for salesmen. You would have your own sales force and you pay them salaries, you pay them overhead, and they would go around looking for the kind of customers that you want, that you can serve very well. Or, you can also work with intermediaries. As a carrier standard, we work primarily with intermediaries. There are 2 kinds. What is an agent? An agent is someone who is not employed by us, but earns a commission from us and represents our company when dealing with the insuring public. The other kind of intermediary is a broker. A broker works on behalf of the customer. So the customer will say to the broker, and we have our friends brokers here, the customer will say, Marsh or JLT Howden, I have a need. This is my business. I've got X number of cars. I've got X factories, X warehouses, and I need cover for personal accident. Can you find me the right program and the right carriers to support these requirements? So especially for very complicated risks, you will want to work with a broker because they can tell you, you know what, for what you need, the program should be designed this way, and you talk to these carriers because these are their strengths. The second big bucket is reinsurance. Let's say the average building now is worth 2 billion pesos to construct, and you're an insurance company, and your net worth or capital is 2 billion. What happens if the entire building goes down? Can you actually pay 2 billion pesos out of your pocket? Generally, for large losses and catastrophes, we insurance carriers work with reinsurers. The largest reinsurers in the world include Munich Re of Munich, Swiss Re of Switzerland, Hannover Re, and maybe Gen Re of Berkshire Hathaway of Warren Buffett. What we do as an insurance carrier is we say, look, we will pay you a certain amount of money every year. And in the event of a major catastrophe, you will cover a big chunk of it. For example, for standard, for a single building, let's say we insure your building, and the building is worth 1.5 billion pesos. And suddenly, it just gets totally burnt down with nothing left. Standard will cover the first 25 million, and our panel of insurers will cover 1.475 billion pesos, totaling 1.5 billion. So we want to make sure that those reinsurers are good for it. And that's why we only work with those rated AA, a single A minus in the US. For a single risk, it's very important. Imagine one building, 1.5 feet gone. We want to make sure that we're okay. That's why we work with reinsurers. So as customers, we must know exactly who are the insurers behind the insurer, because that's a big chunk of change. In the event of a typhoon or a massive flood like Yolanda, we have bigger EQ coverage, or bigger Nat Cat coverage. So our limit there is 2.5 billion. So let's say there are 1,000 cars. Let's say there are 2,500 vehicles valued at 1 million pesos each. That's 2.5 billion, all wiped out in a flood. Standard will pay for the first 50 million, and the reinsurers cover 2.45 billion. So we pray to God that it stops there. And for earthquake, which is the worst, our cover is 8 billion pesos. So if a building is worth 2 billion, Standard can afford 4 billion, 4 buildings totally collapsing. It's very important, and we pay a big chunk of our revenue to our insurers to make sure we can all sleep at night. Very, very important. The third bucket is your claims and losses. Exactly why we are here as an insurance company. This is a function of A. how many policies you have in force. B, what is the claims frequency? How often do your customers get into claims? And C, how much do you pay per claim? In standard, we rank all of our risks from the safest to the worst risk. And we found this person, this guy, making a claim 3 times a year with the same car. And we said, you know what? We're better off paying you to have a driver because you keep on getting into accidents. And as an insurance company, that's us, right? We have underwriting to make sure that we choose the right risks. Do we want to write the risk of a relative who keeps on crashing his car or who keeps a very untidy office or warehouse or building? Probably not. The fourth bucket is admin. And since you are all in business, you know that nothing runs without admin. We have to pay for the rent, for the IT, for the support, for all the people, for the 13th month pay, for their bonus, that all gets factored in. Of course, there are taxes to the government. And lastly, profit. Profit is the lifeblood of the business because it builds and protects the capital base. Without capital, we can insure no risk. The more capital we have, the better we can insure risks. We can insure more risks. So you add all those 6 buckets, you get your premiums, everything you collect every year. That's not the same with insurance. Insurance is a partnership between the insurer and the assured. Because every time we take on a bad risk, it affects the entire portfolio, jeopardizing our ability to service everybody else. Imagine you're 99, you have 100 customers. 99 are good, but one is always accident prone, or worst case, fraudulent. That person will make life so hard for you and will make insurance so expensive for everybody else. As I close, insurance actually operates in the intersection of 2 things: human behavior. Grief, joy, rage, fear, it's a human behavior business. Everyone who rides a car, it's all behavior. You look at 2 factories. One factory is 20 years old, but very, very well run, very clean, very safe, systematic. Another factory, brand new, 1 year old, but so dirty, so poorly maintained, no security. We can't compare, right? 2 very different situations. But the other thing is also our unpredictable nature. The world has become much, much more dangerous and much more unpredictable due to climate change. So these 2 things, insurance companies reconcile every day. So with that, thank you for your time. We'd like to close and then turn it over back to Raj. Thank you very much.
Before I call out the next presenter, I just wanted to take the opportunity. I'm sure a lot of you will have questions. On your tables, you will find some papers and pens. And again, hopefully, time permitting, we would like to end this evenings with an open forum. Please feel free to take down your questions and give it to any of my fellow board members. To move on, I'd like to now call on Mr. Herman Plan, who is currently the head of Marsh Philippines Client Services. His responsibilities encompasses all transactions on accounts ranging from large industrial corporate clients, small and medium-sized enterprises, personal lines, claims, reinsurance, special projects, and government accounts. Herman has been in the insurance industry for over 35 years. He is the local Marsh office specialist on business interruption insurance and has been the local compliance officer who specializes on errors and emissions avoidance standards. Being the project director for special consulting projects, he has worked on numerous due diligence reviews across several industries in the country, including marine, energy, infrastructure with power utilities, telco, and mining, technology with semiconductor industry, construction, terrorism, and sabotage. Without further ado, I'd like to call you up on stage. Mr. Herman, please.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and also my colleagues in the insurance industry. We have been given the assignment of discussing these 2 topics, risk management and property insurance. Okay, this is how the presentation is organized. I'd like to give an overview of the risk management process and then go into the property insurance and some of the components of property insurance. Okay, risk management. Most, if not all of you, are businessmen, and your business operations carry with it a lot of risk, and these risks can be severe enough to threaten the survival of any company, and therefore there has been a lot of pressure from stakeholders to the management to be able to proactively manage the risks, so that the company will be resilient and can manage its risks in spite of adversity. The risk management has evolved into a profession, and so the profession has adopted a very structured approach towards risk management, beginning with the definition of the risk management process. So the process consists of the first identification of exposures, analysis and evaluation, and then examining alternatives for treating the risks, evaluating the alternatives, and finally selecting the risks or the combination, selecting the techniques, which usually is a combination of various alternatives, and then implementation and monitoring for the suitability and making adjustments as being appropriate. So in other words, this is not a hit and miss and a reactive process wherein companies just wait for disaster to happen and then react. This has to be a proactive process where management will go through this and then take the necessary measures. This is the risk management is a cycle, and it begins with the identification of the risk, and then quantifying the risks that have been identified, and then the formulation of the strategy, implementation, and then monitoring. And as the business evolves, you have to go through the process all over again. Okay, so it is a dynamic, a continuing process. As the business grows, as the risks evolve, then management has to be able to address the changes as they come. Failure to do so could mean that a company might not be prepared when a disaster happens. Okay, so I want to emphasize something about the risk management process. Insurance is just one of the techniques. Okay, it's one of the techniques for risk management. It is not. Insurance is not the risk management. It is not the risk management technique. It is just one of the various techniques that a company may be able to consider in terms of managing its risks. Of course, insurance is the most commonly and the most cost-effective method of treating risks, especially property risks, your property assets. And so I go down to the next topic, which is property insurance. Okay, property insurance practices, guidelines, etc. varies from insurer to insurer, but these are the most common features of a property insurance. So what can be insured under property insurance? It's the fixed and movable assets. It's the buildings, machinery, equipment, inventory, leasehold improvements, land improvements. What can we insure your property assets against? It's mostly fire and extraneous perils such as earthquakes, typhoons, even man-made incidents such as vandalism, malicious damage. Okay, and what is the basis of valuation when you insure your assets? The most common method of valuation is replacement value, brand new. it doesn't matter what the historical cost of that asset is. If it burns down today, you have to replace it today at today's prices. You can insure it. You can insure it at today's prices. Actual cash value is another alternative because the basic, the starting point is still the replacement value, but you can deduct accumulated depreciation so that the insurable values will be lower. Our standard recommendation is replacement value for obvious reasons. If you intend to restore or reinstate your property, you have to do so at the price, at the prevailing prices at the time of the loss. And so with replacement value, you'll be able to recover from the insurance proceeds, hopefully enough to be able to restore your property, and despite inflation and inflation and other economic factors. Now, no insurance policy, no insurance contract says it will cover anything and everything. There are terms and conditions and there are exclusions. These are the fine print which we would like to highlight to you, because this can be the sources of disputes and contentious claims. War and warlike perils are not insured under the standard property policy. Military popular uprising, sabotage and terrorism, nuclear accident, unexplained disappearance, wear and tear, willful negligence of the insured. However, certain perils over here are insurable, but usually under separate specialized insurance policies, such as sabotage and terrorism and political violence. Okay. John earlier talked about insurance premiums and what are the factors involved. We'd like to emphasize that in the Philippines, the Insurance Commission regulates the premium rates for the natural catastrophic perils, earthquake, typhoon, and flood. The reason why the Insurance Commission wants to intervene here is because they would like to make sure that the insurers are able to accumulate enough a pool of funds with which to settle very huge claims when they happen, and that is especially earthquake, typhoon, and flood. So these are, if insurance perils for a menu, these would be the most expensive items on that menu. We'd also like to bring your attention to a provision under the property policy, which is the consequences of underinsurance. Okay. This is a standard condition in practically all property insurance policies, which says that if you want to insure, you want to transfer your risk from yourself to the insurance company, then you better transfer 100% of that risk to the insurer. Pay the premium for that 100%. Failing to do so means you are underinsured. It may be intentional or not, doesn't matter, there will still be a consequence to it. So that means if you insured only a portion, partially, the value of your assets, then that means you retain the uninsured portion with yourself, and therefore, when a loss comes, you'll have to share in the risk in the same proportion. So, I have to highlight this because we have encountered just so many losses and claims where this has become an issue, and this has been a source of irritants and disputes and general dissatisfaction. So our advice to you, property owners who want to insure, is to ensure that your properties are valued properly, the valuation is accurate, and are also properly declared to the insurance companies, so that this will not surface as an issue if and when the loss happens. Okay. Generally, property insurance comes in two forms here in the Philippines. One is a broad name perils form, and the other is an all risks form. So what is the difference? As the name broad name perils suggests, the policy says these are the perils you are insured against. So it's a fire, lightning, typhoon, earthquake, etc. Entire catalog of perils. Something happens to your property, you just look at the list, and if it's one of the name perils, then you can conclude that there is coverage free. The problem is that there can be so many surprises. A loss can happen, and it's not one of the name perils. Then you're going to have difficult time convincing an insurer to pay it. So to remedy that, the insurance industry came up with the opposite, the all risks form. So the all risks policy says anything and everything that is sudden and accidental in nature causes a loss, then it is covered unless it is one of the exclusions stated. The exclusions are generally uninsurable risks anyway. So it says exclusions, wear and tear, nuclear accidents, and so forth. So if it's none of the excluded perils, then you have a very strong argument with the insurance company to have your loss, your claim settled. Of course, you have to reach a certain value, insurable value, before you can be eligible for the all risks form. Different companies have different thresholds. Of course, we would recommend all risks policy to the extent that the values justify the all risks form. Now, what do insurers? What do they base their underwriting? Meaning, by underwriting, I mean it is an evaluation and then to decline or to accept, and if the insurer accepts, under what terms, conditions, and pricing. So these are the underwriting considerations. So when you apply for insurance, this would be the basic information that would be asked of you. Location, for obvious reasons. There are high-risk areas, medium-risk and low-risk areas as far as typhoon, earthquake, and flooding is concerned, or for fire, congested areas. Okay, second would be the construction. Obviously, concrete hollow block materials of construction would be the most desirable risk. Occupancy would be the nature of operations. Are these hazardous or medium hazardous operations? Protection. The protection would be protection for fire. If you get automatic sprinklers, fire extinguishers, security guard services, CCTV, and very important, housekeeping. The housekeeping and the general condition of the building, the facilities. Of course, you can be exposed. You can be a very safe. You can be a low hazard operation, but you happen to be situated right beside a facility which is of high hazard. Then his hazard becomes yours because of your proximity. So the underwriters also look at the surroundings, and of course, loss history has a bearing in the underwriting of the risk. So once this information is obtained, submitted to the underwriters, then the underwriters have their own. Each company has acceptance parameters, underwriting guidelines. Then they decide to accept, to decline, and if so, okay, based on what terms and conditions and what price and the pricing. Okay, there are other insurance coverages available. They are usually separately underwritten, and I will not discuss more in detail because I think some of these topics should be handled by the other presenters. But generally, you can insure a consequential loss. Property insurance will pay for repair, for restoration of buildings, but business interruption will pay for the lost business opportunities. The net profits that will no longer be realized because of the loss, as well as the fixed and continuing expenses and increased cost of working. Okay. Machinery breakdown is also insurable. That means these are your boilers exploding, generators, and electromechanical objects overspeeding, so on and so forth. Political sabotage and terrorism is also insurable, and there are specialized insurance policies for electronic equipment such as your computers and your servers and the peripheral equipment. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sherman. And on to our next presenter. I'd like to request you all to join me in welcoming Ms. Ethel Chan. She will be talking to us tonight about the basic features of inland and ocean marine insurance. Ethel started her career with Willis in 2002 as a claims executive handling all classes of claims. She brought a multi-million-dollar marine cargo claim to settlement within 2 weeks from the date of accident. Ethel joined JLT Group in January 2016 as the Associate Director in the Marine Specialty Division and has been involved in developing the North Asia region, including responsibility over Brunei, Philippines, and Malaysia. Ethel, please come on.
Hello. Okay, sorry, I'm quite a fast speaker, so if you can't catch up with what I'm saying, just let me know. Okay, I'll go on marine insurance. Okay, basically, marine insurance, I guess, most of you are aware, is one of the oldest class of insurance. It covers anything that's on transit, on the road, including storage, installation, etc. And you accept claims from anywhere in the world. So it's not only for Philippines. If you sell to someone worldwide, you get claims from any part of the world. And as what the previous brokers has mentioned, you need to have insurable interest. I will touch on what is the definition of insurable interest in the next slide. And a cargo policy is a good value policy. I think Marsh has mentioned that for property insurance is on fixed, so-called, you will have other insurance on average to be applied. But for marine, it's a good value, which we will explain it later. Oh, sorry, I'll bring it back. Okay, type of marine cargo policies is you can go on a single voyage policies or you can have a 12-month time policy. So a single voyage, as usual, as and when you have a shipment, you declare it for coverage. A 12-month, it could be on turnover, meaning that you have a 12-month agreed from 1st January to 31st of December. You declare an estimated annual turnover of shipments to your brokers or agent. Then at the end of the 12 months, you decide, do you over-declare or under-declare and pay additional or get a refund premium? Okay, and open policies is usually a lot of the commodity traders, they goes on the open policies because as and when they have a shipment, they declare. So they feel that they will have more control over securation, but then you have less control over your budget for insurance. I will recommend usually go for 12 months time policies where you cut down on administrative costs and you have more control over budgets for insurance costs. Okay? I'm sorry, I'm too fast. Yeah, nervous. Insurable interest. Okay, a person has an insurable interest if he benefits from the safe arrival of the ship or cargo, or his rights or he's actually prejudiced by the loss of the cargo and incurred liability because of the failure to arrive. So this determines whether you have insurable interest. If the ship doesn't arrive, if a cargo doesn't arrive, do you have a financial loss in that aspect? That tells you whether you have an insurable interest or not. Okay, and you must have an insurable interest at the time of loss. And it also tells which party, buyer or seller, has been interested in the goods at which stage of the voyage. Because I think you guys sell on different Incoterms. So those Incoterms later we will explain at which stage determines whether you have insurable interest. And of course, the party interest in the cargo will affect the cargo insurance. Because if you have no insurable interest, you can buy a cargo insurance for goods and you have no insurable interest. Okay, in total, there's FOB, I guess everybody is aware, free on board, is basically when if you are a seller, you sell on FOB, it means that you're only responsible for insurance by the time the goods is loaded onto the vessel. Then your risk so-called cease, then the buyer takes over. And if you go on CFR, cost and freight, you don't cover the insurance, you sell on CNF. And if you sell on CIF, means that you cover the insurance all the way from door to door if you are the seller. Likewise, if you are the buyer on CIF, your seller basically covers the insurance. Ex-works. I'm not sure whether you guys deal on ex-works in Kotem in Philippines. Basically, if you sell on ex-work basis, it's the minimum so-called liability for the seller. Basically, the buyers take care of all the insurances, including loading of the goods at the premises at a given truck. So you have no responsibility to load any cargoes onto the vehicles provided by the buyer. So if you don't want to have any liability per se on damage to goods, then you go on ex-works term. Okay, indemnity valuation. As we say, a cargo policy is a great value policy. So if today you tell the insurer the cargo costs $1 million, okay, you go and pay the insurance, a cargo insurance of $1 million, pay the premium. When there's a claim and there's a loss, the insurer, you expect them to pay you a $1 million loss with the justification of the invoices and things like that. That won't be an average, meaning that if there is no intentional under insurance, there's no fraud, then the insurer should pay you according to what you have declared for $1 million. Okay? And the valuation usually is CIF plus 10%. 10% is a bit of an uplift. That in the market term is that you don't need to justify the 10%. You just need to tell yourself that if you think you lost this cargo, you have a potential financial loss of 10% because of the sales, then you do an uplift of 10%. In the current market, we have seen uplift up to like 20, 30%. It's no longer the standard 10%. But if you want to go on the valuation of CIF plus 10, then you expect to be paid the premium of your declaration plus 10% or plus 20% plus 30%. You just need to pay the premium, then you get the uplift. Okay, cargo insurance, what does it do? Okay, it covers you, of course, for total losses, actual total loss or constructive total loss. Constructive total loss, it means that it may not necessarily mean that you lost the cargo. It could mean that to repair the cargo costs more than replacement. So the insurer will say, okay, if I will pay you more for repairing the cargo, I'll pay you a total loss, meaning that as though the cargo has been lost. Okay, that's the constructive total losses. Partial losses, you can do the repair, replace, and if you don't wish to repair or replace the cargo, they'll pay you a cash value of the cargo. And marine cargo insurance does not cover any liabilities of any kind. And it only covers perils on and perils of the sea. Okay, sorry for the small print. Okay, basically, interest insured. You probably will see that all your policies, you define what is the intention of cover. It covers you for usually it will say for anything related to the business, like machinery, materials, equipment, suppliers, blah, 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 blah. And any property under your care, custody, and control. Okay, this might come in a way that if we sometimes have clients who have a stock throughput program, then it covers goods in their care, custody, and control. Okay, then you will specify a limit of liability, meaning that if you buy annual policies, you will say every shipment doesn't exceed 5 million. I'll buy a 5 million annual policies limit. So every time your goods is loaded onto a truck, on the vessels, on the flight, it doesn't exceed 5 million. That would be a policy limit. So from the start of the policy period, you guys have to decide what is the limit of liability per conveyance you want to insert. Okay? So if in any event you're going to have more than 5 million sum insured transportation on the road or whatever, tell your brokers to say, okay, I got a special shipment that is 7.5 million, can I get that covered? Usually it will be a yes without additional premium. So usually the underwriters will offer the increase of limit for that one-off shipment. It is just like one-off or twice in the policy year. They won't charge you an additional premium for that. You just declare the sum insured the values, then pay the premium at the end of the period. Okay, the standard insurance conditions are cargo clause A, war, strike clauses, guarantee outturn. These are guarantee outturn are mainly used in bulk liquid cargoes. If any one of you trades like oil, commodity, then you should have the guarantee outturn or extension under your policy. Then deductibles in this current market, I must say, is usually nil deductible. Deductible is self-insurance portion, the excess. So it's nil. And for frozen food, if anyone is dealing with frozen food, it tends to have 24 hours time access. Okay, A clause, what does it cover? It's the all risk clauses. It covers anything that is accidental or fortuitous, but there's damage in this situation. I think previously Standard mentioned that it has to be unforeseen. So fortuitous is unforeseen. If it is a known event, if it's going to be a known loss, insurance will cover that. That's not the intention of insurance. Okay. But it does not guarantee to pay all your losses. There's definitely exclusion, as always, the insurance policy. They don't cover you for willful misconduct of the assured. Okay, it doesn't cover you for ordinary leakage, loss of weight, wear and tear, unsuitable packaging. Okay, unsuitable packaging these days has been extended. If you work with general brokers, basically, we have an extension that by supermarket buy you don't pay extra. We basically have extension wording for unsuitable packaging to be covered under your marine cargo insurance. So you will no longer be penalized for any packaging that you have done on operated by third-party packing company. In the old days, a lot of insurers throw out claims for unsuitable packaging. So in this market condition, it has to be extended under the standard covers. Your brokers just need to put it in. Okay, inherent wine, that means like wine. If you ship wines in the heat, it turns into vinegar. So that is a natural process. So those are not covered. Delays are not covered. We will have an example later about delay claims. And of course, insolvency or financial default of owners, managers, as the recent Hanjin cases, that is not covered. But then there's some special towards the Hanjin situation, which we can explain later. Okay, radioactive contamination, that is not covered. What commodity you are trading, then sometimes you guys may have a special extension to the policies. These are just very generic ones. War clauses, in the event of a war, it covers you, but it's war not on land, it's sea, at sea, okay, that is covered. But usually underwriters have this 7 days cancellation, because if there's a war outbreak, they don't expect you to trade in the war zone. So they will give you a 7 days cancellation. Whatever is really trading, they will still cover you, but then they don't expect you to go on a new trade in the 7 days. Okay? Strike clauses, it covers you for strikes, locked out workmen, blah 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 blah, terrorism. This is the same thing. Usually there's a 48 hours cancellation clause on the policy. So if underwriter knows that there's a strike in this particular port, they don't expect you to actually dock or unload your cargo in that port, knowing that it's going to be a stress situation. So that will still be covered. But anything that is during when the strike has, if there's really a strike, then underwriter will expect you to trade. Okay. General claims procedure. It's very basic things. I think it's very common sense things when it comes to claims. You must always immediately report a claim. Don't sit on the documents. Don't sit on the situation after like 2 weeks, 2 months, because underwriters will not be able to survey the damaged goods. So take necessary steps to protect the interests of all parties concerned. So what we used to tell our client is, you must act as though you are uninsured. So what will you do when you're uninsured? Okay, take immediate steps to minimize the loss or damage. And if someone else caused your loss or damage, write to them and hold them responsible. We usually give our client a document called the letter of protest. That is given to our client where it's a specimen letter to be printed on your letterhead, where you can actually give it to your operation team when there's any damage caused by the carriers or caused by freight forwarders. You can actually use this letter and say, I hereby hold you responsible for the damage of this particular cargo, blah, 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 blah. And get them to be in touch with you and all your brokers. So there's a letter, we call it letter of protest, to be given to the negligent third party. And keep records of quotation, including verbal quotes and invoices, and keep records of developments of any action taken by you, and usually a surveyor will be appointed. we will also give a copy called the letter of acknowledgement to our client, meaning that it may not be so cargo relevant, but then, sometimes if you damage third-party property in the course of the operation, it could be writing to you and say, your particular delivery guy has damaged my property on this day, this day. So we have a letter of acknowledgement for our client to reply to this third party to say, yes, we acknowledge the claim, our brokers will be in touch with you. Okay, I think at the end of this session, probably we will give you a specimen copy in the handout. General case procedures is to take pictures of a damaged item and do not throw damaged property away. Always get the surveyor running through first before disposal. Okay, hypothetical claim scenarios. There's 3 scenarios here. The first one is there's a piece of precision equipment delivered at a crate from US to Singapore. Tilt watch was activated, but there was no physical damage to the cargo. The question is there cover or no cover in the marine cargo insurance? This is supposed to be an interactive session, but I don't think this is going to be. So I will say that, for example, 1 is a covered claim, because even though there's no physical damage to the cargo, but because it's a precise equipment, the owner is concerned whether the equipment will still be functional. So we send it back for checks, go through the whole process, and we declare it a constructive total loss because they couldn't take the risk to put the equipment into the plant and run it to manufacture wafers. So even though there's no physical damage, but then it's still a payable claim at the end of the day. Example 2, this is similar to what happened to Hanjin. Okay, cargoes were on the board the vessels where the owners has gone into liquidation, and then the so-called buyers or cargo owners would like to offload their cargo. There's not a question asked, is it covered or not covered under marine cargo insurance? First, it depends on what cargo you are shipping. The straightforward question or answers from the insurer was, if you want to offload the cargo simply because it's to avoid delay in delivery, that is not covered, because delay is excluded risk under the marine cargo insurance. But if the cargo is like perishables, you do know that if you don't offload the cargo in time, the cargo is going to be damaged. That is going to be a cost to the insurance company. So you can claim it under sue and label under marine cargo insurance to say, for the additional cost to offload the cargo is to minimize potential future losses, then that is covered. So there's some debate ongoing at the time on the Hanjin cases, but if it's purely to prevent delays for delivery, that is not covered. Okay? 3, XYZ Petroleum Company traded crude oil. Basically when they offload on the bill of lading issue and actual receipt was different, it's paper loss. So the question is it covered or not covered? There is no physical loss, it's just on the paper loss. That is covered, but there's always an excess like 0.3% loss is not covered because those oil could be left in the tank, it could be in the pipes that is not fully drained. Those are the 0.3% losses that is not covered. But if it's paper loss outside of 0.3%, then that is covered. Because that is the reason why you need to have the extension of guarantee outturn to cover paper losses, not physical loss. If you have a collision, then there's loss of the crude oil. That is obvious, that is shortage, damage or whatever, that is already covered. But to have paper losses that has no physical damage, you just lost it based on paper reading because of the different meters used from the different port, then that is covered if you have the extension of guarantee outturn. Okay, I think that should be the end of my presentation. Yeah, okay, thank you.